Have you ever tried doing absolutely nothing and failed miserably? Not because your body refused to rest, but because your mind wouldn't let you. The silence screamed louder than your notifications. The stillness, unbearable. In a world addicted to motion, where productivity is praised and busyness is worn like a badge of honor, doing nothing feels almost sinful, like a rebellion against the culture of constant output. But what if I told you that doing nothing is one of the most intelligent things you could ever master? We live in an era where every second is scheduled, every scroll engineered to hijack your attention. You're praised for hustling, applauded for multitasking, envied for being booked and busy. But beneath that applause is a quiet exhaustion, a soul that's starving for stillness, a mind that's never allowed to breathe. You weren't born to run like an algorithm. You were born to listen, observe, to be present, not just perform. The art of doing nothing isn't laziness, it's clarity. It's the audacity to pause when the world demands performance. It's wisdom in a world that mistakes movement for meaning. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." But in today's world, that retreat is rare, because we fear what we'll hear when everything else goes quiet. This video isn't about escaping life, it's about meeting it fully, by not running from stillness. It's about why intelligent, self-aware, emotionally evolved people are reclaiming the art of pause. Why they're stepping back, slowing down, and unlearning the belief that rest must be earned. If you've ever felt guilty for taking a break, if you've struggled to sit in silence without grabbing your phone, if you're ready to discover the hidden strength behind stillness, then stay with me. Because what follows might just be the most powerful thing you've never done. They say silence is empty, but that's only true for those who can't sit with themselves. For the emotionally intelligent, silence is not a void. It's a sanctuary. It's where clarity rises, where noise dies, and where the inner voice finally speaks. In a society drunk on stimulation, stillness has become the rarest luxury. Most people don't avoid silence because it's boring. They avoid it because it reveals too much about their wounds, their insecurities, their unprocessed fears. That's why the moment things go quiet, we scroll, we click, we binge. Not out of hunger for content, but out of fear of confrontation with ourselves. But the intelligent mind knows better. It understands that silence isn't a threat, it's a mirror. And in that mirror, you see your true self, unfiltered, unmasked, unafraid. Think of it like this. When a lake is turbulent, it reflects nothing. But when it's still, it reflects the sky. Your mind works the same. When it's cluttered with distraction, it can't perceive reality. But when it's calm, truth emerges. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." But how can you even know your thoughts if you're drowning them in noise every day? Here's a Stoic paradox worth remembering. Doing nothing is not doing nothing. It is deliberate. It is active. It is powerful. Choosing silence in a noisy world is not passive. It's resistance. It's awareness. It's choosing not to react, not to retaliate, not to rush. And in that choice, there is power. The next time you find yourself surrounded by chaos, don't reach for your phone. Reach inward, breathe, sit. Let the silence swallow you, because only then will you realize it was never empty. It was full of everything you needed to know, but were too busy to hear. Some wounds don't bleed. They hum quietly beneath your routines. They wear the face of fatigue, chronic restlessness, or a strange numbness you can't quite name. And here's the bitter truth. Noise doesn't just drown out pain, it delays healing. When your mind is constantly fed with updates, opinions, and alerts, It doesn't get to process, only react. But stillness? Stillness is the medicine that modern life forgot. Not the kind you buy over the counter, but the kind that's born in solitude. In the moments when you choose not to scroll, not to speak, not to fix, just to be. Most people try to heal by consuming more. More books, more advice, more stimulation. But emotional wounds are like physical ones. They don't close faster if you keep touching them. They need air. They need silence. They need you to stop interfering. Seneca said it best, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." If you are always on, always connected, always reacting, you're not really present anywhere, not even within yourself. Stillness is not the absence of activity, it's the presence of integration. It's the space where your nervous system exhales. It's where scattered thoughts return home. It's where emotions, once tangled, begin to settle like dust in a quiet room. Picture this, a shaken snow globe. That's your mind on a typical day. Memories, emotions, expectations, spinning endlessly. Now imagine placing it down, doing nothing. Slowly, everything begins to clear. Not because you added something, but because you stopped shaking. The Stoic knows that inner peace is not something you chase, it's something you uncover, beneath the noise, beneath the striving, beneath the compulsive need to do. You don't have to earn your rest. You don't have to explain your silence. You just have to trust it. Try this. Today, give yourself 10 minutes to do nothing. No music, no phone. Just sit and observe. You'll notice your body wants to escape. Your mind wants to justify. But if you stay, something begins to mend. Not with effort, but with permission. Because some healing doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing less, from doing nothing. We often imagine resistance as something loud, protests, defiance, explosions of action. But in today's world, true resistance is quiet. It's the ability to remain still when everything around you is demanding reaction, when algorithms scream for your attention, when headlines bait your outrage, when the world rewards speed, noise, and instant opinion. Choosing stillness is not passive, it's revolutionary. Emotional intelligence isn't just about responding calmly, it's about knowing when not to respond at all. It's the subtle power of disengagement, of stepping back not out of fear, but out of clarity. Stillness then becomes armor, a sanctuary, a filter between your soul and the chaos outside. Think about it. Every system today is designed to keep you stimulated. Your phone, your feed, your work. Noise is no longer just sound. It's mental clutter. It's the pressure to prove, to post, to explain. And the most dangerous thing noise does? It makes you forget who you are when you're not performing. Epictetus taught, if you wish to improve, be content to appear clueless or stupid in extraneous matters. Why? Because real growth doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from knowing what deserves your energy and what doesn't. Stillness is your declaration that not everything deserves a response, that not every headline must be read, that not every notification is an emergency. It is how you reclaim your attention, and with it, your freedom. Modern culture calls this laziness, but Stoicism sees it as wisdom, because while others burn out chasing validation, the emotionally intelligent person conserves their energy for what truly matters. They don't attend every argument they're invited to. They don't explain themselves to noise. They understand that the loudest room isn't the most truthful, it's just the most reactive. Stillness says, I don't need to compete. I don't need to impress. I only need to be anchored. If the world is shouting, let it shout. Your silence is not weakness. It is your signal that you are no longer a puppet to distraction. You are becoming a master of your mind. So next time you feel the urge to prove something, pause. Let the silence speak. In a society drowning in noise, that pause is not absence, it's presence. That pause is power. Insight doesn't shout, it whispers, and you can only hear it when the noise within you subsides. That's the secret most people miss. They chase clarity through information, through stimulation, through endless external input, believing that truth lies somewhere outside of them. But the most profound realizations, they don't arrive during the rush. They surface in the pause. Stillness is not the absence of thought, it's the refinement of it. In stillness, the mind is no longer reacting, it's reflecting, not running, it's observing. And in that observation, something incredible happens. Patterns emerge, meaning crystallizes, and truths that were once buried beneath your mental clutter rise to the surface with quiet certainty. Modern life teaches you to search outward, but Stoic wisdom calls you back inward. Marcus Aurelius often journaled not because he needed answers, but because stillness helped him see what was already there. "Dig within," he wrote. "Therein lies the wellspring of good, and it is always ready to bubble up if you just dig." Insight doesn't require more content. It requires less interference. The intelligent mind doesn't rush to conclusions. It sits with complexity. It questions assumptions. It lets the truth come, not by force, but by silence. And when that truth arrives, it doesn't scream. It feels like a remembering. Have you ever noticed how your most important realizations hit you in the shower, on a walk, or during a quiet morning with no agenda? That's not coincidence. That's the power of your mind when left undisturbed. Insight is your soul breathing freely, and stillness is the oxygen. Yet most people never pause long enough to access that wisdom. They numb discomfort with noise. They confuse motion with meaning. But the emotionally intelligent, they know that clarity doesn't come from pushing harder. It comes from sitting still. In a world that moves fast, slowness feels radical. In a world that values productivity, stillness feels subversive. But that's the very reason you need it. Because stillness isn't just where healing happens. It's where knowing begins. If you're stuck, overthinking, or uncertain, don't add more. Subtract. Sit. Breathe. Let silence reveal what striving never could. You don't need another podcast. You don't need another opinion. You need space. And in that space, your next move will reveal itself, not through effort, but through alignment. Because insight doesn't chase you down. It waits for you to become still enough to notice it. If you're not intentional about your stillness, the algorithm will steal it. And not just your time, it'll steal your focus, your attention span, your peace of mind. It will curate your emotions, dictate your desires, and hijack your thoughts, frame by frame, swipe by swipe, until one day you mistake the feed for your own inner voice. You see, the greatest threat to your autonomy today isn't force, it's frictionless distraction. It's the infinite scroll that never gives you room to breathe, the autoplay that fills every silent moment, the curated noise that tells you what to think before you've had a chance to think at all. Stillness is not just self-care, it's rebellion. It's stepping outside the stream long enough to realize how deeply you've been carried away. It's a conscious interruption of the unconscious programming. It's what the Stoics would call returning to reason, the ability to observe, question, and choose for yourself. Seneca once wrote, "If you really want to escape the things that harass you, what you're needing is not to be in a different place, but to be a different person." And in this digital age, that different person is the one who can sit in silence without reaching for a screen. Stillness reclaims your narrative. It teaches you that you are not your notifications, you are not your feed, you are not the reactions you collect online. You are something deeper, and that something can only be heard when the noise dies down. The emotionally intelligent person understands this. They don't run from technology, but they also don't surrender to it. They carve out moments of sacred pause, not just to disconnect, but to reconnect with their inner compass, their deepest values, their truth. So ask yourself, when was the last time you were truly alone with your own thoughts, without background noise, without a podcast playing, without a tab open in your mind? When was the last time you simply existed? Stillness gives you back what the algorithm tries to erase: your awareness, your intentionality, your sovereignty. It's the quiet gap between impulse and reaction, and in that gap lies freedom. Try this. The next time you're tempted to open your phone for no reason, don't. Just stop. Sit. Let the moment pass. Let yourself feel bored. Let your thoughts breathe. You'll be surprised what returns when you stop trying to consume every second. Because in the end, stillness is not about doing nothing. It's about reclaiming everything: your time, your clarity, yourself, from a world that profits when you forget who you are. You want to know who's in control of their life? Watch how they behave in stillness, not when they're winning, not when they're posting, but when there's no applause, no attention, no momentum to ride. That's when mastery, or the illusion of it, is revealed. Because stillness strips you bare. It shows you what remains when you're not performing, not achieving, not reacting. And if that stillness terrifies you, it means your identity is glued to noise. But emotional intelligence whispers a different path. That real power isn't loud, isn't hurried, isn't anxious for recognition. Real power is the ability to sit with yourself without needing to escape, prove, or distract. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And that mastery begins in the quiet, not in your ability to dominate others, but in your discipline to command your own mind. Stillness is the battlefield where that discipline is tested, where cravings rise, where fear speaks, where discomfort begs for reaction. And the one who resists the urge to react is the one who wins. Let's be honest. Most people don't lack ambition. They lack silence. They lack space to think clearly, to feel deeply, to act intentionally. They're not failing because they aren't trying hard enough. They're failing because they never stop long enough to examine why they're trying at all. Stillness is the dojo of the disciplined. It's where the mind is sharpened like a blade, not by more data, but by subtraction, by emptying, by letting go of the need to chase every opinion, every argument, every high. In that space, you begin to hear the signals beneath the noise, the subtle intuition, the ethical pull, the deeper wisdom that doesn't yell, but guides. Most people live reactively. The emotionally intelligent live responsively. They pause, they reflect, they choose. And that choice is born in stillness. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, don't fight it with more action. Step back, go still. Observe the battlefield of your own impulses, and watch, like a seasoned general, how your clarity returns, not from domination, but from restraint. Because the person who can do nothing and still feel whole has mastered the hardest thing of all, themselves. There's a silence that doesn't come from absence, but from arrival. A moment where the noise finally fades, not because the world quieted down, but because you did. And in that moment, something shifts, something cracks open, and you begin again. Stillness is not the end of action. It's the reset that makes right action possible. It's not a retreat from life. It's a return to it with clearer eyes and steadier hands. Because when you've been burned by noise, by hurry, by needing to be someone for everyone, stillness becomes the doorway to becoming someone for yourself. People think transformation is loud, that it comes with grand declarations or dramatic moves. But the most honest rebirths begin in silence, in the quiet decision to stop running, to stop performing, to stop betraying your own rhythm for the world's applause. Marcus Aurelius understood this when he wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." Your life changes not when your circumstances change, but when your relationship to them does. And stillness is the ground where that relationship is rewritten. What happens when you stop filling every gap? You begin to feel again, to notice what you've neglected, to realize what was never yours in the first place. And in that realization, you don't just return to life, you recreate it. Stillness gives you back your authorship. It hands you the pen and says, "Write again, but this time not for the algorithm, not for approval, write for truth." It reminds you that peace isn't a place you go, it's a state you practice. And in that practice, you're not escaping life. You're meeting it on your terms. So if you're lost, tired, uncertain, don't chase clarity through motion. Stop, breathe, let yourself be blank. Let yourself be bored. Let yourself be still. Not because nothing matters, but because everything does, and because maybe the most courageous thing you'll ever do is nothing. For long enough to hear the whisper of your new beginning. In the end, the art of doing nothing is not really about nothing at all. It is the quietest form of resistance, the gentlest act of rebellion, and the most courageous kind of self-respect. In a culture that glorifies overthinking, overdoing, and overstimulation, stillness becomes a moral stand, a Stoic stand. Marcus Aurelius didn't write meditations in moments of chaos. He wrote them in moments of stillness. Epictetus didn't teach students to conquer the world, but to conquer their response to it. And Seneca reminded us that time is the only thing we truly own, and yet the first thing we give away. This is the Stoic twist, that what appears to be passive is often the strongest act of agency, to do nothing when the world tempts you to react, to hold your center when life pulls you in all directions, to sit in stillness, not because you've given up, but because you've finally woken up. Doing nothing is not laziness, it is leadership of the self. You don't need to explain your silence. You don't need to justify your pause. Let others fill the air. Let others chase the noise. You are practicing the art of restraint. You are embodying the strength of calm. You are living what others fear, a life not controlled by chaos, but carved by clarity. This is not withdrawal, this is wisdom, because the one who can sit still in the storm doesn't fear the wind. They become the anchor. So when the world demands a reaction, pause. When people expect your performance, rest. When chaos knocks, stay still, not as a retreat, but as your reply. If this video met you in a moment of noise, then take this as your permission to pause. Not because you failed, but because you've remembered. Stillness is not a luxury, it's a necessity. In a world that moves faster than thought, the one who dares to stop is not falling behind, he's waking up. So pause, not to escape, but to return, to breathe again, to hear your own heartbeat beneath the static of expectations. To choose stillness, not because you're weak, but because you're wise enough to know that not everything deserves your energy. Now I want to ask you, what's one moment in your day where you could do nothing and let it mean everything? Share it in the comments. Your story might be the very silence someone else needs to find their peace. And if you found value here, subscribe. Because at Stoic Viva, we're not chasing noise. We're cultivating inner clarity. We're not reacting to life. We're choosing how to live it. And if you're ready to take this clarity into your relationships, don't miss our next video. 10 things an intelligent person avoids in relationships. It's not about building walls. It's about choosing what and who you allow beyond your peace. I'll meet you there, where wisdom protects what matters most,